Let me tell you something that life has taught me. Not a preacher's lesson, not a professor's theory, but a revelation forged in fire. No one is your friend until life proves them to be. We live in a world where people hand out titles like candy. That's my friend. We go way back. That's my day one. But what you must understand, my brother, my sister, is that calling someone a friend doesn't make them one. Friendship is not a label you apply. It is a truth you discover. And the discovery doesn't happen when the sun is shining. It happens when the clouds gather, the storms rise, and your life starts to shake. That's when revelation walks in. That's when God pulls back the curtain and says, "Now look again." That person you called friend, are they still standing? You don't find real friends when you're on the mountaintop. You find them when you're in the valley, because in the valley there are no lights, no applause, no benefits. That's where motives are tested. That's where loyalty is exposed. That's where the label of friend is either confirmed or it crumbles. See, people will be quick to connect with your name when it benefits their brand. They will post you, tag you, stand beside you in photos, but they won't stand beside you in battle. They'll show up to celebrate your promotion, but go silent during your pain. Why? Because what they were attached to wasn't your soul. It was your success. They weren't connected to your person. They were connected to your platform. I want to talk to someone who's been confused by the silence of people they once celebrated. I want to talk to the person who thought they had a circle, but when life hit, it turned out to be a hole. You thought it was solid, but it wasn't. You were fooled by words, by charm, by laughter, by years of shared memories. But history doesn't equal loyalty. Just because you've known them long doesn't mean they're meant to last long. Some people are seasonal, and that's okay. But the danger comes when you give lifetime trust to temporary people. This is why Jesus said, "You will know them by their fruit." Not their words, not their likes on your post, not their attendance at your parties. You know a friend by the fruit they bear under pressure. How do they respond when you fall? How do they act when you're no longer in a position to help them? Do they stay when the fire gets hot? Or do they run when the heat turns up? We have made the mistake of confusing association with alignment. Just because they're around you doesn't mean they're for you. Proximity doesn't equal partnership. Judas was close to Jesus too. So close he could kiss him. But even in his closeness, he was working for the enemy. Just because someone is walking with you doesn't mean they're walking in agreement with you. Let me say this with clarity. Time doesn't prove friendship. Trouble does. It's in the midnight hour when your phone is dry and your heart is heavy that you'll discover who's real. It's when you have no money, no clout, no status. That's when revelation comes. God strips away the false so that you can see the faithful. And sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you have to grieve people who are still alive because what you thought you had with them never really existed. It was fantasy dressed up as friendship. But hear me, it is better to be disappointed by the truth than to be destroyed by a lie. You are not crazy for loving people. You are not wrong for believing in someone. But you must be wise. You must learn to let life prove loyalty. Don't promote people in your heart based on potential. Let the tests of life be the proving ground. Let pain be the filter. Let pressure be the test. Because real friendship is revealed, not in comfort, but in chaos. Not when you win, but when you weep. A true friend will wipe your tears, not post your trophies. A true friend will sit in the dark with you, not just celebrate when you shine. A true friend doesn't disappear when the lights go out. They show up with a flashlight, and sometimes listen. Sometimes the revelation is that you don't have a friend in them, but you've got a friend in God. When everybody else walks away, he walks in. When your so-called friends don't pick up, heaven answers. When you're on your knees, not one of your contacts can help you, but your Creator hears your cry. So stop crying over people who were never assigned to stay. Stop trying to force lifetime connections out of seasonal assignments. God will show you who's real, but sometimes he has to allow the fake to fall off first. Be thankful for the revelation. It may be lonely, but it's liberating, because now you know friendship is not a label. It is a revelation, and when God shows you the truth, don't argue with him. Walk in it. One of the most painful realities you will ever face in life is this. People often love you not for who you are, but for what you do. They admire the stage, not the scars. They celebrate the performance, but ignore the pain. They are drawn to the light you shine, but they cannot handle the shadows you carry. What you must understand, child of God, is that most people aren't connected to your heart. They're connected to your hand. And the moment your hand stops giving, many of them will stop showing up. They don't see your soul. They see your service. They don't hear your cry. They hear your gift. They don't know your name in the prayer closet. They only know your name on the flyer. You could be bleeding behind the scenes and still be expected to bless others on stage, because to them you are not a person. You are a function, and when the function fails, their loyalty follows it out the door. Some of the very people who cheer the loudest when you win will be the first to disappear when you lose, because they never loved you. They loved the benefit of you. The moment you stop feeding their appetite, they lose interest in the relationship. But let me tell you something. God will allow you to go through seasons where your gift doesn't work, where your favor is hidden, where your name is forgotten, so you can see who really values you beyond your usefulness. It's easy to feel needed when you're doing well, but what happens when the well dries up? What happens when the applause fades, when the phone stops ringing, when the crowd walks away? That's when you discover who loves your presence, not just your performance. That's when the room gets quiet enough for you to hear the truth. You are more than your talent. You are more than your results. You are more than your paycheck, your smile, your strength. But sadly, many people won't recognize your worth until you stop producing for them. You'll find yourself in rooms where they say, "We miss you," but what they really mean is, "We miss what you brought." You'll hear, "I love you," but what they really mean is, "I love what you do for me." Some of you have been heartbroken, not by betrayal, but by reduction. You've been reduced to a role, a title, a skill. You've been boxed into what you provide and stripped of who you truly are. They saw your strength and forgot your struggle. They admired your climb, but ignored your cost. And so now you sit in silence, wondering if anyone sees the real you. And the truth is, many don't. But let me tell you what the Spirit of God whispered into my heart. Until you let go of the people who love your gift more than they love your soul, you will always feel alone in a room full of people. Stop entertaining counterfeit connections. Stop begging for validation from people who only show up when you're winning. You were not created to be used. You were created to be loved. Not for your output, not for your function, but for your essence. You are not a machine. You are a miracle. That's why God will strip you down sometimes, not to break you, but to reveal you. He'll shut doors. He'll block calls. He'll make the people walk away. Not because they hate you, but because they were never assigned to the next level of your life. He'll remove the users, so he can bring you healers. He'll subtract the opportunists, so he can add covenant people. People who know the value of your presence, even when your gift is offline. You need someone who loves you when you have nothing to give. Someone who sees your tears and not just your titles. Someone who sits with you when the lights are off. That kind of love is rare. That kind of loyalty is holy. That kind of friendship is divine. Let me tell you, God loves you like that. He saw you when you had nothing. He loved you before the crowd came. He knew your name when nobody else did. He walked with you when the room was empty. He comforted you when the spotlight moved. His love is not transactional. It's transformational. You can't earn it. You can't perform for it. He doesn't love you for what you do. He loves you because of who he made you to be. So lift your head, wipe your tears. Stop chasing people who only clap when you produce. Start surrounding yourself with those who value your soul over your shine. Because when you know who you are in God, you'll stop performing for people. You'll stop auditioning for affection. You'll stop bending just to keep people who never deserved your energy in the first place. You are not just a resource. You are a relationship. You are not a job. You are joy. You are not a title. You are a treasure. And the ones who are truly for you will love you, not just for what you do, but for who you are when all you can offer is simply you. Everybody claims loyalty until loyalty costs them something. Everybody says, I got you, until you stop getting them what they want. Loyalty sounds good in comfort, but it is proven in conflict. The truth is, loyalty doesn't shine when you're on top. It shows itself when you're at the bottom, when the blessings dry up, when the favor fades, when your name stops opening doors. That's when loyalty walks in and leeches walk out. You see, as long as you're feeding people, they'll sit at your table. But the moment the plates are empty, you'll see who really came to eat with you and who only came to eat off you. That's the moment when life separates the real from the fake. And I don't care how long you've known them. Time doesn't equal trust. Just because someone has been around for years doesn't mean they've ever been for you. There are people who are waiting for the chance to benefit, not build. They didn't show up out of love. They showed up out of need. That's why God allows dry seasons, because He's not just testing you. He's testing the people around you. He's showing you who can ride with you without riding on you. Because some people aren't loyal to you, they're loyal to their need of you. And once that need is gone, so is their presence, so is their kindness, so is their praise. You thought they were your support system. You thought they had your back, but the truth is, they had your back until it was no longer convenient. They had your back until your crisis interrupted their comfort. But loyalty is not measured by how people treat you when you're shining. Loyalty is revealed by who stands by you when you're sinking. Don't tell me you're loyal when we're laughing. Show me when we're weeping. Don't tell me you've got my back when the money is flowing. Prove it when the bank account is empty and the options are few. Loyalty is expensive. It costs something, and that's why so few are willing to pay the price. Even Jesus had to deal with fake loyalty. Peter said, I'll never leave you, Lord. I'll die with you. But when the pressure came, when the soldiers arrived, when Jesus was on trial, Peter denied him not once, not twice, but 3 times. That wasn't just Peter being scared. That was Peter's loyalty being tested and failing. So if Jesus, perfect, holy, blameless Jesus, had people walk away from him when the benefits disappeared, what makes you think everyone who smiles at you is for you? What makes you think every I love you is genuine? What makes you think every compliment is clean? We live in a generation obsessed with access. People want access to your gift, your wisdom, your platform. But once they get what they want, they vanish like a vapor. And the pain that hits your heart isn't just the betrayal. It's the realization that they were never loyal in the first place. They were only interested as long as the transaction benefited them. This is why God will allow the blessings to pause. He will allow the income to drop. He will allow the influence to shift, not to punish you, but to purify your circle, to remove the parasites, to clear out the opportunists. So when He blesses you again, when He takes you to the next level, you'll know exactly who can go and who cannot. You can't carry dead weight into destiny. You can't take disloyal people into the promised land. And sometimes that means walking alone for a season. Sometimes it means sitting in silence. Sometimes it means looking around and realizing that you are your only cheerleader. And that's okay. Because loyalty that shows up only when it's easy is not loyalty. That's convenience dressed as commitment, and I want to speak to the person who's been disappointed, the person who feels like you gave and gave and gave, and when it was your turn to need, no one showed up. I know that pain. I know what it's like to be surrounded and still feel alone, but I need you to understand, God was not breaking you. He was building discernment inside of you. He was teaching you to see people for who they really are, not just who they pretend to be. Now you know, now you won't be fooled by flattery, now you won't mistake attention for affection, now you won't invest blindly in people who drain your soul. This is not a setback, it's a setup for stronger relationships, a setup for divine connections, a setup for covenant friendships that don't run when the winds blow. And when God sends those people, the ones who love you when you're empty, the ones who check on you without needing something, the ones who sit in silence just to be near you, don't take them for granted. That's a rare kind of loyalty. That's a God-sent kind of bond, and it's worth more than all the popularity and applause in the world. So remember this. Loyalty is tested in the absence of benefit, and only what passes through the fire deserves to walk with you into the future. There will be seasons in your life when you look around and see no one. No phone calls, no texts, no invitations, no one checking on you. You walk into rooms that used to be filled with laughter and love, and now all you hear is silence. And in that silence, the enemy begins to whisper, "You've been forgotten. Nobody cares about you. You're all alone." But I came to tell you, being alone doesn't mean you've been abandoned. Loneliness is not always a punishment. It is often a preparation. It is in the solitude, not the spotlight, that God begins to shape you. It is in the quiet moments when no one else is around that your soul becomes still enough to hear God's voice. Some of the most powerful people in history had to walk through lonely valleys before they ever stood on victorious mountains. David was alone in the field before he became king. Joseph was alone in the pit and the prison before he stepped into the palace. Even Jesus had to walk alone into the Garden of Gethsemane, where even his closest disciples couldn't stay awake to pray with him. Because there are certain places your calling will take you that company cannot follow. You see, people may leave, but God never does. The absence of people is not the absence of purpose. Just because nobody sees you doesn't mean God has stopped shaping you. Sometimes God removes people so you can see that He is enough. He'll isolate you not to punish you, but to insulate you from distractions, from false friendships, from voices that cloud your spirit. Because some revelations are too holy to be shared in a crowd. Being alone teaches you how to stop depending on applause and start standing on anointing. It breaks your addiction to affirmation. It purifies your motives. It strips away the noise so you can rediscover your identity. Not through other people, but through your Creator. When you stop relying on relationships to validate you, you start leaning into the presence of God to define you. You begin to realize, I'm not forgotten, I'm being focused. God will sometimes put you in a season where you are hidden, not to hurt you, but to heal you, hidden from the opinions of others, hidden from comparison, hidden from the pressure to perform. It's like the seed that's planted in the dark soil. Just because it's underground doesn't mean it's dead. No, it's germinating, it's growing roots, it's getting stronger. And in due time, it will break through the surface and become something powerful. But before that seed rises, it has to be alone. So don't despise the season of isolation. It's where your strength is born. It's where you learn to pray without needing a microphone. It's where you learn to worship without needing a choir. It's where you develop endurance, discipline, and faith that doesn't flinch when the world grows silent. Being alone is not a curse. It is a sacred classroom. It's where God prepares you for the people, places, and platforms He has ordained for your future. And sometimes, listen closely, sometimes God has to take people away so you stop making them your source. Because as long as you're leaning on them, you're not leaning on Him. As long as you're depending on their presence, you're not depending on His provision. This is the season where God is calling you to be comfortable with your own company. To learn how to walk into a room and not feel less because you're not with a crowd. To look in the mirror and know that you are still valuable, even if nobody else tells you. To sit in the quiet and say, God, it's just me and you, and that's enough. I know the pain of feeling left out. I know the sting of being excluded. I know what it's like to pour into others only to be forgotten when it's your turn to need. But let me tell you something. Man may walk away, but God stays. People may turn their backs, but God turns his face toward you. And while they're running off to chase whatever pleases them, God is building you in secret. The wilderness is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your becoming. And when the time is right, when the lessons are learned, when the oil has been crushed out of you in the lonely press of life, then God will bring the right people, the right opportunities, the right doors. But this time you won't be dependent. This time you'll be rooted in something greater. This time you'll know, I can be alone and still be whole. So don't confuse separation with abandonment. Sometimes God has to pull you apart to put you together. Sometimes he allows the crowd to walk away so that he can walk in. And when he walks in, he brings peace, power, and purpose that no human presence can match. You are not abandoned. You are not forsaken. You are not overlooked. You are being preserved. You are being prepared. You are being set apart. Not because you are worthless, but because you are priceless. Stand still. Be faithful. Embrace the solitude. And trust that God is doing something in the silence that will speak louder than any crowd ever could. There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart right before your eyes. The phone call you expected never comes. The job you prayed for slips through your fingers. The friend you trusted disappears when you need them most. The door you believed God would open slams shut with force. And in those moments you cry out and say, "Why, God, I thought you were with me. I thought this was the path." But what you don't realize is that God is not failing you. He's revealing you. He's showing you where your hope really lies. He's not being cruel. He's being kind. He's shaking every false foundation so that only what's unshakable remains. You thought they would be the ones to stay. You thought that relationship was your forever. You thought that business deal was your breakthrough, and when it fell apart, it wasn't just disappointing. It was devastating. But God said, if I hadn't let it break, you never would have known that your trust was in the thing, not in me. So many times we tie our peace to people. We attach our identity to positions. We rely on platforms and praise and performance. And God will allow it to disappoint us, so that we stop depending on what is fragile and start depending on what is eternal. That's why some doors close. Not because the devil's attacking, but because God is redirecting. He said, I'll close the door to the relationship that made you forget me. I'll shut down the opportunity that became your idol. I'll frustrate your plans so you'll surrender to mine. And it doesn't feel good. Oh, no, it hurts. It makes you question yourself. It makes you question your faith, but pain has a purpose. God uses disappointment like a surgeon uses a scalpel. Not to wound, but to heal. He cuts away the infection of pride. He removes the tumor of self-reliance. He exposes the hidden disease of trusting man more than trusting God. You see, God is not interested in us building towers that look impressive, but have no spiritual foundation. He said, you've been leaning on them too much. You've been leaning on your own understanding. You've been leaning on what you could control. So now, I'm going to teach you how to lean on me. And if he has to disappoint you to develop you, he'll do it. If he has to allow you to cry so you'll call on him, he'll let the tears fall. Because God's goal is not your comfort. It's your calling. He's more committed to your growth than your convenience. Some of you have been walking through a season where nothing is working the way you expected. The things that used to fulfill you now feel empty. The people who used to encourage you are nowhere to be found, and you're wondering, where did I go wrong? But what if I told you? You didn't go wrong. You went deep. You went beyond the surface. You've outgrown shallow water, and now God is teaching you to swim by faith. He's letting the shallow blessings dry up so you can learn to trust him in the deep. That disappointment was never about the thing. It was about your heart. God will frustrate your plan to protect your future, because if you succeed without him, you'll think you don't need him, and God loves you too much to let you live that lie. He said, I am the vine, you are the branches, without me you can do nothing. So he allows the shaking, the stripping, the sifting, not to destroy you, but to anchor you. God uses disappointment to introduce himself on a deeper level. You thought you knew him as provider, but when the paycheck stopped, you discovered he was your sustainer. You thought you knew him as healer, but when the medicine didn't work, you found out he's the balm in Gilead. You thought you knew him as friend, but when everyone else walked away, you found out he is closer than a brother. It took disappointment to show you that God is not just a Sunday sermon. He's your Monday morning strength. He's not just a name in a book. He is the breath in your lungs and the light in your darkness. And now when you look back, you can say, thank God for the no. Thank God they walked away. Thank God it didn't work. Because if it had gone the way you wanted, you never would have discovered the depths of his faithfulness. He didn't abandon you in disappointment. He was right there, shaping your character, building your faith, removing the idols, and drawing you close. Disappointment has a way of detoxing your soul. It removes the illusion of control. It silences the noise of distraction. It reminds you that only God is constant. Only God is faithful. Only God is sovereign. And when you finally come to that place where you say, Lord, even if it doesn't go the way I hoped, I still trust you. That's when you've passed the test, because true dependence is not proven in blessings, it's proven in brokenness. When all you have is God, you find out he is more than enough. And now, as you rise out of that disappointment, you do so with a new kind of strength, a quiet confidence, a deeper trust, a stronger walk. Because God didn't just let you fall, he taught you how to stand, so now you know, now you understand why the crowd thinned out, why the ones you trusted turned their backs, why the arms you leaned on suddenly let go. It wasn't betrayal, it was revelation, it wasn't rejection, it was redirection. God wasn't taking people from you, he was pulling you to himself. You've cried, you've questioned, you've walked alone, and still, you're standing. Still, you're breathing still. You're pressing forward because what was meant to break you, God used to build you. What was meant to isolate you, God used to elevate you. You were never really alone. His hand was always there. His presence never left your side. You didn't need their loyalty to discover your destiny. You needed his guidance to recognize your strength. So stop waiting on a crowd to validate what God already confirmed in private. Stop looking for friendship in places where faith is absent. Stop depending on applause to measure your anointing. The ones who left couldn't carry your calling. The ones who stayed silent weren't assigned to your storm. You are not broken. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. You are called. You are set apart. And what God is about to do in your life will make every tear, every lonely night, every disappointment worth it. He stripped away the shallow so he could pour out the supernatural. Let them talk. Let them walk. Let them misunderstand, because when God finishes with you, even your enemies will say, the Lord has been with them. You may have walked in wounded, but you're walking out wise. You may have started alone, but you'll finish anointed. So lift up your head, straighten your back, wipe your tears, and walk like you know who's walking with you, because if God is for you, who can be against you? This is your season to stop begging for friendship and start embracing your Father. This is your time to stand boldly in your purpose, knowing that even if no one is your friend, God is your fortress, and with him you lack nothing. Amen.